Okay, guys. Next company coming up, Bactiguard. CEO standing over there, waiting to be welcomed on the scene. Christian is a serial entrepreneur, and what I love about this story is that they did an IPO that didn't go the way the company will hope for, but they have struggled and they're back and they're growing faster than ever before. So I'd like to welcome Christian to tell us about the story and the takeaways about doing the IPO, not getting the results that you might enjoy, but again, not giving up, fighting it through. Welcome.
Thank you, Homan. So, Wills from Mera, you did a fantastic presentation. You're in here somewhere. You spoke about the last 6 years. I'm going to try to do the last 25 years in 20 minutes, starting right now. So yes, I did go to Stockholm School of Economics, and unlike some of my friends here, I never graduated. I'm still missing that nasty stat 2. It's a shame. It tends to be something of a marker for an entrepreneur. Then I went into sales. All my friends, they went into Morgan Stanley, Boston Consulting, Investor, and so forth. I became a sales rep at Roche. That's probably the best decision I've ever taken. I learned to sell a very complex product that is completely uninteresting. It's a pill. To a customer base, making decisions about something that they don't pay for, because that's the landsting, at least here in Sweden. So it was interesting. Took 2 years, I realized I know everything now. So I started my first company, renting out sales reps. My dear friends from the Stockholm School of Economics say you're never going to succeed. The company has today about 140 employees in the Nordic area. It worked perfectly. Rent a representative. Then what? We became members of the European Union. Free movement of goods, services, and capital. What better to move than a pharmaceutical produced in Södertälje called Losec, going by truck to Greece, putting it on a new truck, bringing it back home to Sweden, relabeling manually, lowering the price 10%, making 20% gross profit. That's pharmaceutical arbitrage. That was the second company. Sold later on to one of the biggest generic companies in the world. And then I was out of a job, and I had money, time, and my third kid. And my dear friend, since 42 years, Thomas von Coach, he has a side business called EQT. He came with the opportunity saying that, why don't we go into Bactiguard? So welcome to the journey. We're going to take you through. So why on earth do you want to shoot yourself as a speaker and show this graph? Because what doesn't kill you makes you stronger. We did list 19th of June. I wouldn't wish upon my worst enemy to go through what we did. Yes, we launched at 38 crowns. Having not myself as a CEO for the time, very smooth decision, thinking I'm not going to take the blame. Well, you don't think so. We had a dear friend. He had, unfortunately, for private personal reason, had to step away. He's still in the company. He's a beautiful friend. And then we did one mistake recruiting a CEO. That was bad for the company. So somewhere here in the spring, we had 3 CEOs in 3 quarters when I rejoined 12th of June 2015. So what do you say? We had gone from listing price 38 to 8 crowns. It was basically like seeing a company filled with Edvard Munch's The Scream. That's how we looked. We were a little bit under the ice, so to say. So we said instead, what gets us out of bed every single day? You know what? When I go home with my colleagues Cecilia and Lina here, we have saved 10 lives. That gets me out of bed every single day. And you might wonder, how does actually then hospital-acquired infections, how does it look? Is it only my grandma, Agneta, 92? Or could this actually be you and me sitting in here? Unfortunately, I'm afraid to say that, yes, it is. This was Sharzad, 25. Long story short, she had an infection that turned into a sepsis, and she had to do a double amputee. Not to start crying, but it struck me even closer. before Christmas, my son was playing American football. He had a tackle in his head, a hemorrhage. He went into the ICU. He was very close. But you know what? He was not close to die from anything else than hospital-acquired infections coming from a peripheral venous catheter. That's kind of irony, right? He's alive and kicking, I can tell you. He's skiing, so he's back on. He had, of course, a central venous catheter from Bactiguard. And he also wants royalty on everything we sell from now on, from Daddy. So this is my world. Welcome to our world. We are at war without an army against multi-resistant bacteria. The scary part is that unless you knew already, we are running out of efficient antibiotics. Is that really a problem? Let's look at Europe. We are supposed to do everything in the same way. The consumption of antibiotics in Greece is 3 times higher per person per year than what it is in the Netherlands. Any problems with that? You bet it is. Let's go back to Greece. This is showing the level of multi-resistant bacteria. In Greece, it is so bad, if you are being hospitalized and you are not carrying multi-resistant bacteria, you will be isolated. When you think about that, it should be the opposite, right? That's how bad it is. 50% of the patients in Greece are coming in with multi-resistant bacteria. If we don't do anything about this trend, by 2050, 10 million people are going to die from this. And I can tell you today, 8 million people die from cancer annually. So this is what we're facing. So hospital-acquired infections, which is really what we are at war against, meaning you get hospitalized, seeking help for something, and you catch an infection inside of the hospital, having you stay an extra 4 days. 1 out of 10 patients will receive this wherever you are in the world. And I'm sorry to say it's the same number in Sweden as well. When you go into the ICU, where my son spent 10 days, every 3rd patient will receive these infections. So it's severe. So the vision is simple. We want to save lives. How? By using our products, that I will show you in just a second how it works. The infection rate goes down. That means also that the hospital stay is going to be shorter. So we will actually be able to produce more healthcare instead of having our relatives lying in the corridors in Swedish hospitals because we're out of beds. And if we have less infections, you know what? We're going to use less antibiotics and there will be less spread of multi-resistant bacteria. That's a pretty interesting vision that gets our little team to the office every single day. And that is our most valuable asset. As for building a unicorn, it's all about people. People, 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 and I do see the misspelling. Yes, I hear it in the audience there. The core value, Bactiguard is all about value-based healthcare driven by our own core values. It's not a workplace, it's a lifestyle. We are driven by different types of core values, out of which resourcefulness. We want to have people understanding we are not spending OPM, other people's money. It's our money. Actually, some shareholders' money as well, for sure. And this is working rather well. Unless this group, no offense, we are one of the most equal companies on the Stockholm Stock Exchange. We are ranked the 21st most equal company. So let's say in my management group is 50-50. In my board, we are 2 out of 3. In my nomination committee, we have the chairman of the nomination committee is a woman. Why? Because it works. It works brilliantly. At the same time, we were actually also elected the employer of the year by Samhall. Samhall is a very dear collaboration partner to us. We are just short of 100 employees. We have 29 nationalities of those 100 employees. Diversity gives strength, and we believe very strongly in that. The history of Bactiguard, I'm not going to take you through the whole 100 years, but believe it or not, we start off with the Nobel Prize laureate Gustav Dalén. What on earth that does have to do with Foley catheters in the urinary tract? Everything. He had the Nobel Prize for the automatic lighthouse. That was coated glass making a mirror. He then took a protege in AGA, Professor Carl Axel Bergström, who at 73 years of age met our inventor, Billy Södervall, 75. Billy is still at the office earliest every single day of all our employees. He happens to have a lifelong employment agreement. It's very hard to move him out, so it's better to let you stay inside. He had the idea. He was working with Gert Erik, a very famous CEO of Nibe in Markaryd, with different layers of coating to make his heating pumps not corrode. It took him until 1995 to get the first product launched in the medtech field. From 95, they worked, and when I came in with Thomas, 2005, we were 3 employees sitting in a shack that is still around, that is to be torn down outside of Roslagstull, Björnäsvägen. That's what we took over. And now we are in 40 countries, we are producing our own products, and we are growing 20% year on year. So it's been an interesting story. So, hospital-acquired infections, where do they occur? Urinary tract infection, about 30 to 40%. Why? Very simple. It's 37 degrees, a lot of bacteria. Whatever you stick in there, it's going to attract bacteria. The other thing is respiratory. Whenever you put the patient on anesthesia, you will also have the same thing. And the third part is bloodstream products. So what we decided to do was to go from a technology provider to, maybe I said the comment, how difficult can it be to expand forward in the value chain? It took 6 years, costed 300 million SEK. That's history now. And voila, we had the 3 products. These 3 products, they represent somewhere 60 to 65% of all device-related hospital-acquired infections. How does it work? This is brilliant. Bactiguard, remember 3 things. 3 different metals: gold, palladium, silver. In a layer that is 5 atoms thin, we put it on a product and we create a battery effect. At least all men in here have sometimes taken a battery, put your tongue on, it's very interesting until it stings. And it's going to keep on stinging, preventing bacteria to stick to the surface. It does not cause side effects, so we are tissue friendly and we are taking care of bacteria. Does it work? Evidence-based medicine, yes. We have over 170 million patients who have used our products since 1995. 85% of the US hospitals are using us every day. We have, until this date, 0 side effects on our coating, which is very nice. When we look on the clinical trials, we see a reduction in the urinary tract with our Foleys of somewhere 30 to 35%. Remember a normal pharmaceutical study, we're talking single-digit % reduction. So it's a very high reduction. And the same goes for blood and respiratory. So health economy. Never leave home without it, I usually say. This is a life-size urinary tract Foley catheter. In Sweden, every 5th patient will get one of these. We sell about, it's sold in Sweden, 750,000 of these. If we were to switch them into Bactiguard, we would save 100 lives per year, prevent 10,000 urinary tract infections, and save landstinget 400 million SEK on one product. I would rather put that on, for example, nurses, their salaries, to make them stay here and not go over to the rich producing oil country, Norway. The business model. Our revenue stream contains of the license business, which is beautiful. We basically ship out 400 liters of coating to CR Bard. We get a small amount of 100 million SEK coming back with a high 90% margin. That is ongoing until 2029. That is what has built our company. What we then decided to invest in as how difficult it could be were these 3 products. We call it the BIP portfolio, the Bactiguard Infection Protection portfolio. It's growing now almost at 100% rate per annum, and this is where we are seeing the growth potential. So these are the 2 revenue streams as of right now. Just to give you a glimpse of potential license deals. We just had a very interesting CE mark before Christmas. That was a very nice Christmas present. Trauma implants. If you don't know, when you have a severe cracked bone, you need to fix it with a nail, plates, and screw. That market alone is, as you can see here, the 3rd arrow, almost $6 billion. There are 3 players in the world, and let's say we have several ongoing discussions right now to strike a deal. A normal license deal for us is a high single-digit percentage in royalties. So then you do the math. The rest is, as the top one, orthopedic implants. That is hips, joints, and knees, for example. The market presence today, we have a partnership with BD. They bought Bard for $24 billion in the US and in Japan, only for the urinary tract catheters. The rest we try to do on our own, again, thinking how difficult it could be. So China is our biggest market by far right now. Then we have India and the Middle East, and we went the latest into Europe. Why? Because at the time we didn't have the financial strength to meet the competition in Europe. But now we have signed in Germany, for example, and we are also in the Nordic and most of the European countries. So we are growing there now quickly. License business, what we then could do, as I say. To go into the orthopedic trauma, for sure. BD I spoke about. This one is also an interesting product. Vascular Access. Take a long catheter the size of a hair. Enter in through the groin. Navigate inside the vessels, anywhere you want to go in the body. For example, to a tumor. Inject the drug straight into the tumor. Raise the dose by 100 times. Voila, you have a new delivery device of pharmaceuticals. That is a company that Bactiguard is working with. SmartVice happened to sign with a small company called AstraZeneca just in April. Financial targets, trying to keep my promise as for the 20 minutes. We are striving to grow 20% year on year until 2020, reaching an EBITDA margin of 30%. That's going to take us from 163 million last year to close to 300, 2020. How I'm going to go there is by having my current BD business that is very stable. We are going to create 1/3 of that license business in new license deals for the coming years. And the rest is coming from a BIP portfolio. Last year, what we did all-time high. We were extremely disappointed. We only grew 6%. Yes, we did double almost our BIP portfolio. We reached, after adjusting for one-off costs, an EBITDA margin of 22%. And I want you to see one thing. At the bottom line, it shows a big minus. It's not. What is this? I blame my partner, Thomas. We are doing a write-off of our technology from the remaining patent time because we did an asset deal once in a lifetime, giving us a tax shield. Trust me, we are not avoiding tax. We are increasing the tax by employing more people and growing the company. So, summarizing, the company is still owned by myself and Thomas to almost 40% and some 60% of the votes. We also had the opportunity to have the 4th AP fund coming in together with Nordea, a small cap fund last year. And also we do emphasize the pilot school. Our chairman owns almost 9% of the company. He invested 70 million SEK at 17 crowns, and he's very happy that they're now in 38 crowns. So that's a good bargain. So summarizing, the beauty. I have my infrastructure investment behind me. We are now scaling up and really using that profitability potential now to gear the company up. We have never seen a stronger pull from the market as for hospital-acquired infections, multi-resistant bacteria. You read about it every single day. So really, what do you need to remember today? One thing. The road to success and safety, Bactiguard on the outside, you're safe on the inside. Thank you.